Welcome to the most extensive waiver wire show on the internet. My name's Hussein the Brain. You're watching The Couch. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss awesome videos like these. Let's go on to the waivers. We have pickups at every single position, including defense and kicker, and they're all ranked. Other than Jameis Winston, there's not going to be too many quarterbacks to add if you're in a one quarterback league. Ryan Tannehill I put on this list just in case some fantasy owners are a little bit antsy and drop him. I do see maybe 1% of fantasy owners or maybe even 2% dropping him, so be on the lookout for that. I think the Cardinals defense was just a bad mismatch for the Titans, and they should be able to bounce back. We'll see. I'm thinking week one was an outlier for the Titans, but only time will tell. After that, it's basically all these other guys are really close. We got Teddy Bridgewater, a couple good matchups against the Jags, and then the Jets in week 3. Kirk Cousins, Big Ben. You don't really trust him, but he's got a few really good matchups. Raiders, then Bengals, then Packers. We got the rookie Zach Wilson and the rookie Mac Jones. I have them both very close. Justin Fields, I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to take over soon, and he needs to take over if the Bears are going to win some games. He will make some mistakes. It will be a little bit rough here and there, but ultimately he has much more upside than Andy Dalton. And if this change at quarterback happens very soon, we have some great matchups. Bengals, Browns, Lions, Raiders, Packers. And then in super duper deep leagues, we got Jared Goff, Tyler Heineke with Ryan Fitzpatrick hurt. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to miss several games, probably at least half the season. Let's say at least 4 or 5 weeks, probably the whole season. It's a very complicated, very serious injury that Ryan Fitzpatrick suffered. And we also have Tyrod Taylor, but I don't really recommend that. For running backs, Eli Mitchell is the talk this week. He's the number one waiver wire ad, and so we're going to talk about him extensively. How much FAB should you use? What's going to happen with the Niners backfield moving forward? Well, I'm with using 100% of your FAB on Eli Mitchell, and I don't believe he's going to be the main guy for the entire season. I think you're essentially getting like a Mike Davis type of guy. Mike Davis was a low-end RB1-ish, kind of like that. He kind of curtailed off with Curtis Samuel getting a lot of touches and wasn't really that great towards the end of the season, but in the beginning he was pretty good. And it's a different situation with Eli Mitchell. But what I'm really trying to say is Eli Mitchell should ball out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe even 6 or 8 weeks. This will change. I bet you we're looking at this Niners backfield, talking about it, looking at it right now, how it's shaping up, the current time. And then we're going to look at it in 10 weeks and be like, wow, that's totally different. Maybe it's Sermon at the helm, Trey Sermon. So we're gonna see, man. But if I'm spending 100% of my FAB or my number one waiver claim for a running back that's going to help me get 3 wins, that's well worth it. I'd probably spend 100% of FAB if I was guaranteed 1 win, because 1 win is pretty important, right? You get 7 or 8 wins, you're tied to make the playoffs, and then, I spent 100% FAB to get that one good running back, and boom, now I'm in playoffs. It could be the difference between you making playoffs or not. And that's why I'm spending 100% FAB. I recommend you do as well. I'm also the type of guy who spends usually zero FAB on a player to add for free, or 100% on a player. In rare occasions where I know my league mates and they don't, they're really stingy with their FAB budget, sometimes I occasionally put in a lower bid. That is definitely a strategy. If you're very, very certain, like 90%, 99% certain you can get a player at a lower bid, that's worth you be reserving a little bit of your FAB budget. That's cool. But as of right now, I'm probably going to put in 100% for Eli Mitchell in vast majority of my leagues because, like I said, he's going to probably help me get 3 wins. And that's worth blowing my entire FAB budget on for sure. We're seeing how this Eagles backfield shapes up with Kenny Gainwell. It's going to probably be like Kenny Gainwell gets a third of the work while Miles Sanders gets about 2/3 of the work. Both backs look good, but Kenny Gainwell, his very first game was pretty impressive for me, and he can catch the ball, and so we're going to see him have a significant role. And you know what? Usually rookies keep improving, so this bodes very well for Kenny Gainwell. It's also probably pushing Miles Sanders to reach his full potential or just step up his game. So this is good. Look, you want running backs on good offenses, right? More scoring opportunities, moving the ball more yards, and that's what we might see with the Eagles. Look, the Falcons team could be bottom 3 this year. They might even be the absolute worst team this year. But still, I think the Eagles offense and team in general is okay as well. I don't think they're that bad. So I like Kenny Gainwell, and he gets a boost in PPR leagues, I'd say. Tony Jones actually is basically a must-add, right? He's clear-cut handcuff to Kamara. He's heavily involved in the games, 11 attempts and 1 target week 1 with an elite running back like Kamara in there. So, could we see a Mark Ingram, Kamara type of split or value with Tony Jones? I would say no, not really, but it could be kind of close to that. It could be within that realm, and fantasy owners are not realizing that. So I think you can get Tony Jones for free. I mean, I've been adding him in all my leagues, and he just needs to be rostered. He's not only a handcuff, but when you have bye weeks or injuries, you can possibly start him, and he won't be terrible. That's really hard to say for a lot of running backs on waivers. James White, I got at number 4 if you're in full PPR. Now, if you're not in full PPR, I'm going to rank him about number 9 here. So it's a big deal. In non-PPR leagues, James White is pretty much useless. Then we got Damian Williams. We've seen him used as the pass catching back and heavily involved in the game plan. Latavius Murray was being used. Now let's see if Le'Veon Bell does get his legs under him and starts playing. That could be messy, but Latavius seems like a decent power back and was pretty involved on that week 1 game, and he just got signed a few days ago, so that's pretty impressive. Look, Mark Ingram's the RB1 for the Texans, but I just don't have a lot of faith in this organization. I don't know if they're going to keep switching backs. I do think Mark Ingram remains the starter for a good amount of time at least, but it's just this team's not to be trusted. They went up against the Jags, who could be the worst team in the league too, bottom 3, let's just say. And all the Texans look like all pros, and they look like a great team. So I don't want to go all in on the Texans just yet based on that week 1 performance. In deeper leagues, we got Carlos Hyde, Samaje Perine, who is the RB2 on the Bengals and seems to be Mixon's handcuff, and Larry Roundtree, who seems to be the direct backup behind Austin Eckler. Joshua Kelly was also a healthy scratch week 1, and Justin Jackson really wasn't that involved. We could see a little bit of a difference in week 2. Maybe Justin Jackson does get more involved, but as of now, it seems to be Eckler and Roundtree, the 2 main backs for the Chargers. For wide receivers, we have some quality, but mostly quantity. I guess I would cap it off right here around this top 11 here. I got some more, but Cole Beasley, man, 13 targets against the good Steelers team. He's showing that he's really good, and this is going to be one of Josh Allen's worst performances this year is what we're expecting, and so look for Cole Beasley to do even better. But, oh, man, 13 targets with Emmanuel Sanders on the field, with Gabe Davis catching a touchdown, and, of course, Stephon Diggs on the field. That's pretty impressive. We also have Marvin Jones on a team that's going to throw the ball a lot. And I think all three wide receivers are going to have value. That's DJ Chark, Laviska, and Marv Jones. We got Jalen Reagor, who's a very risky wide receiver. Sammy Watkins, this could be a little bit of a messy situation once we see the Ravens wide receivers get more healthy. And, of course, Jerry Jeudy is out with a very, very bad injury. He's going to miss he's going to miss at least half the season, high ankle sprain. And once he returns, he might not even be 100%. So his season is looking very, very bad. It's such a sad thing to happen to Jeudy. So I'm going with KJ Hamler over Tim Patrick, just because I feel like he has more upside. He's a bigger deep threat. And if he gets a few of those 40-plus yard plays, that's going to be great for your team. Tim Patrick looked really, really good, though. I would say Tim Patrick's maybe a little bit better red zone guy, possession guy, while KJ Hamler could take the top off the defense. He's a speedster. So they're both almost equal. We also got Nelson Aguilar, who wasn't good in training camp and preseason and a lot of question marks, but in the actual game, he was decent. Christian Kirk, he didn't get a lot of playing time nor snaps, and I think this is going to change every week. I think the main reason Christian Kirk balled out was because Kyler Murray was that amazing. So I don't expect Christian Kirk to ball out every week or be even startable every week. But even though he didn't get a lot of playing time and a lot of targets, he did seem to be the more explosive, reliable wide receiver. So he may lap AJ Green and others and really become the wide receiver 2 on the Cardinals. And becoming the wide receiver 2 on a team like that is worth adding. We also got MVS in deeper leagues. Quintus Cephas, Terrell Williams is hurt. Don't know the extent of his injury. Maybe might miss a couple games or something. Dante Harris could be the wide receiver 2 on the Saints. Brian Edwards, Van Jefferson, Zach Pascal. I think the wide receiver 1 is going to be switching every week there for the Colts. So don't go all in on Pascal, even though he was one of my sleeper ads. De'Ami Brown, rookie wide receiver on Washington. KJ Osborne, number 3 wide receiver on the Vikings. Hunter Renfrow, the slot guy for the Raiders. And Cedric Wilson with Michael Gallup going to be missing some time. For tight ends, my number 1 guy is Jared Cook, a guy that I severely doubted. And, we were talking about Donald Parham and this and that, but seemed to be pretty clear looking at the stats who the alpha tight end was, who the pass-catching tight end was for the Chargers. 8 targets in a game where Justin Herbert wasn't that great. I thought he played well considering how good the Washington defense was, but what I'm saying is Herbert should be playing a lot better a lot of other games, and Jared Cook's numbers give me a lot of confidence in him. Cole Kmet, don't know how he's not rostered in a lot of leagues. Like, you got to pick him up, man. Get him. Juwan Johnson, dual position eligibility, converted from wide receiver to tight end. And then we're, in deeper leagues, we got Anthony Ferguson, Pat Freiermuth, who's a stash. Eric Ebron's a starting tight end, but Pat Freiermuth, I think, is one of the most talented tight ends in the league, not just a rookie. And it's like, man, I feel like you got to give this guy some playing time, right? He's catches literally every single pass, looks amazing, is always wide open. I don't know, man. I feel like you got to give him play at least towards the end of the season. So, unfortunately, he's going to kind of seem like a waste of roster space now. But if he does get more opportunities, or if anything were to happen to Eric Ebron, I love Freiermuth's talent. James O'Shaughnessy was the number 1 targeted tight end for the Jaguars. It was not Jacob Hollister. 8 targets is pretty impressive, at least something to note. Dalton Schultz was involved a lot on the Cowboys, so it was kind of a 50-50 split between Jarwin and Schultz, but I expect Jarwin to keep getting more and more involved in the offense, and Schwartz maybe a little bit less and less involved. Jarwin coming back from that major injury, that's probably why this happened, so expect Jarwin to keep getting more and more snaps every week. And then we got CJ Uzomah, number 1 tight end for the Bengals, but they don't really use the tight end. And Dawson Knox, the only tight end left on the Bills, and they actually used him. Maybe he's actually, I called this guy a bust just like a month ago, but maybe he's okay. Maybe he's better with all the competition they brought in, and maybe he's just a late bloomer, which used to be the norm back in the day. Tight ends used to take a long time to develop. For defenses, we have a lot of great ones. In some leagues with deep benches, I've already rostered the Browns D a week ahead, knowing that they're going to play the Texans. I put the Broncos on here just because you guys are going to ask me a ton of questions. What about the Broncos? What about the Broncos? So even though they're rostered in 90% of leagues, I put them on here. They're also a must-add. A lot of people started them last week. They were really good. I know I added them. I drafted them in round 16. So they're definitely an amazing defense. Both those are basically tied, right? Browns D and Broncos D. I love both. I don't expect the Texans to repeat from week 1 and play well. And I was very impressed by the Browns defense in the first half. And let me put it like this. The Texans and the Chiefs are 2 totally separate teams. And then we got the Saints D going against the Panthers. Right here it's very close after these first 2. Honestly, the difference between like number 3 and number 8 isn't that big of a difference. But we have the Saints going against the Panthers at number 3. Then we got the Bills going against the Dolphins. Bears D going against the Bungles. Giants. I can't call them the Bungles anymore. They look kind of hot. I correct myself. Bears D going against the Bengals. Giants D going against Washington. Cardinals D going against the Vikings. Cardinals D could be the real deal. J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, top 5 defensive player, I think, in the NFL. Packers D going against the Lions. Jets D going against the Patriots. And if you're in a super deep league, you could go Raiders going against the Steelers, but I wouldn't recommend such things. For kickers, my kicker that I loved last week performed quite well. Lots of opportunities. So we got Robbie Gould again. Robbie Gould, number 1. And then it's pretty close between like number 2 and even number 7. That's probably even 8. A lot of kickers do well against the Raiders. Yeah. So all these kickers are good. Maybe I don't know about the Bears kicker. He's talented. I like the kicker. Just don't know if the Bears is the best situation to be on as a kicker to get us fantasy points. But nonetheless, we got Robbie Gould, number 1. Evan McPherson, number 2. Rookie phenom kicker. Number 3, we got Ryan Suckup going against the Falcons. Should be lots of opportunities right there. Extra points, field goal attempts, lots of them. Mason Crosby going against the Lions. Pretty talented kicker. Pretty good kicker. And the Packers, look, even if they are a complete disaster this year, week 2 they should be fine against the Lions. I don't see the Lions stopping Aaron Rodgers in the pack. Brandon McManus, decent kicker, and incredible matchups going against the Jags and Jets. Matt Gay of the Rams, he's okay. Maybe he's a little overrated. He's been incredible recently, and I think he's been injured, or I don't know, but he hasn't, like when he was on the Bucs, he wasn't really that good. So I'm reserving what I feel about him just right now. I don't know. I'm almost treating him like a rookie. Like, we just don't know yet. I mean, he's got the experience, but I just don't know if he's really good and reliable. He seems like it, and the Rams seem like a good situation for him. That's why I'm ranking him not too high, not too low. Number 7, we got the Browns kicker, Chase McLaughlin. Oops, let me go back to this. Going against the Texans, any kicker going against the Texans should be good. Except last week. I don't know what happened there with the Jags and Josh Lambo. Chris Boswell going against the Raiders. Then he's going against the Bengals, then the Packers. These are all good matchups for the Steelers kicker. And we have Dustin Hopkins and Cairo Santos. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe to both YouTube channels, Fantasy Couch and Fantasy Couch Podcast. Smash this with a thumbs up, please. Drop your questions down below. I read every single comment, so I'll try to get back to those. Good luck this week. Go put in those waiver claims. I hope you guys get Elijah Mitchell. Peace out.